welcome to a very special edition of the Canadian Baseball Network podcast in association with the Baseball Zone. It's a very special day here at the Baseball Zone. Strikeout ALS in association with ALS Double play here at the Baseball Zone, fundraising for ALS research. Really cool event here in Mississauga, all kinds of things going on. There's food, there's drinks, there's prizes, of course lots of giveaways, and really a lot of family fun as well. Well, the most important thing is research and awareness for ALS. Now, at first glance, I wasn't sure I didn't realize how much stuff was going to be going on here at the Baseball Zone. There's different challenges going on, different hitting challenges, throwing challenges, all kinds of things. Measuring velocity. Man, maybe I should get out there. Should be mentioned, Matt Betts is not with us today. Now, I'd love to see what Matt could hit in the Velo Challenge, whether he still got it or not, but just kicking off here at the Baseball Zone, and it's good energy so far, great place, great atmosphere, and obviously for a great cause as mentioned. Now, ALS, it's important to understand ALS. It's a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord. There is no cure for ALS or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis yet. And that's one of the reasons we're here today, is to create awareness for research and for fundraising in order to eventually find that cure. You may have heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge. There was a big thing about, maybe 10 years or so ago. I think it still is a thing, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and that certainly helped raise awareness and funds for that. In fact, that's where actually I really heard of the disease. But of course, there's a lot more ways than just an Ice Bucket Challenge to fundraise and raise awareness for an important cause. So the event goes on today from 11 to 3, and it is now, around 11:15, and boy, some energy in here now. Now, I should note, I am in the PlayStation corner, okay, with all the couches, so that means that there will be kids occasionally playing video games here, perhaps even just hanging out. So I'm lucky enough to be perhaps recording audio in a spot that might not be perfect for audio, but alas, is going to capture great atmosphere, that's for sure. But yes, great to be here at the Baseball Zone supporting, as mentioned, a great cause. So today what I'll try to do is take you here. Now, of course, one of the key parts of a day like today is, making sure that we continue to raise awareness and fundraise, but also just, I think, to be, what's the word? Present? Is that the right word? Or maybe just listen. I think that's a big one too. Listening to those who've been affected by ALS, whether themselves, family, friends, people they're close to. Hoping to catch up with a few folks from ALS Double play a little bit later on as well. And the Baseball Zone, it's a tremendous facility. If you haven't been out here before, definitely worth checking out. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, if you're a regular listener, well, you've heard of the Baseball Zone through our ads and mentions and things like that. It's a fantastic facility. I hadn't spent much time out here, and it's a very warm place, welcoming, and obviously very baseball themed. In fact, I'm sitting in a very cool little baseball chair. Well, I've got a baseball chair and a glove chair right here with me. I feel very baseball themed. This is the perfect spot for a baseball podcast, right on the baseball chair. And that got a few laughs from the crowd there. My crowd, as if I have a live audience. Yeah, really cool to come here. You get to see the Terriers' Wall of Achievements, different jerseys hanging here. They've got a Morneau jersey, they've got a Larry Walker jersey, both Canada jerseys. They've got a Cal Quantrill jersey here, a Luke Wilson jersey as well, former tight end for the Seattle Seahawks. Really cool to see some jerseys here today. Some kids bringing in some Jays jerseys. See a couple Bo Bichette's over there. That's always good to see. There's also, I heard, a dunk tank. Now, maybe that's the real reason that Matt Betts didn't join us, because he heard about the dunk tank before I did, and he knew I was going to land him in that. Could have been a good bit, but alas. One of my favorite parts about today is just that I talk about the sense of community. People walk in and they say, "Oh, hey, how's it going? It's been a while." Sense of community, like I said, just catching up with people. Lots and lots of that. So that's really, really good to see. I think it speaks to the community that they've built here at the Baseball Zone. I think it also speaks to, sort of the environment a day like today a cause like this can create, that is. And it's bringing people together. It's people have smiles on, they're here for a good reason, and they're proud to be here. And one thing I definitely wasn't surprised by, I took a look at the Terriers' Wall of Achievements, and I saw a Mr. Betts on the wall. That was very cool. You look at that list, boy, talk about a who's who. People in Canadian baseball, wow. Be hard to tell the story of baseball, history of baseball, without talking about ALS. They're, in many ways linked, both in the past and the present. You look at Lou Gehrig, obviously. The disease was known for a long time as Lou Gehrig's disease. It still is. Of course, named after the Iron Horse. He was the Yankees' regular first baseman for 14 years. He held an Iron Man streak. And on July 4th, 1939, in the midst of what was a Hall of Fame career, one of the all-time greats, he was forced to retire. Now, a man of few words. Gehrig didn't really like the spotlight. Didn't love to be sort of the center of attention. But at his retirement, he ought to say something, and it's one of the most memorable speeches, I think, in baseball history. Read a little bit here to you. Quote, "For the past 2 weeks, you've been reading about a bad break," Gehrig told the crowd, his voice thick with emotion, making the last words sound more like brag. "Yet today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth," end quote. Courtesy of CNN. This was from his retirement speech, and his bad break that he mentioned was his recent diagnosis of ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Now, Lou Gehrig Day is on June 2nd. It's a chance around Major League Baseball to remember Lou Gehrig, to remember those who had ALS and currently who are fighting ALS and fighting to make a difference for the future. You can't talk about Lou Gehrig Day without talking about Sarah Langs as well. Sarah Langs, tremendous broadcaster with ESPN, climbed the rankings very quickly at a big network like that, ESPN, and became very quickly one of the faces, in my opinion at least, of their baseball coverage. Did a fantastic job. If there's a stat that you want to know, Sarah Langs will know it. And she's so inspiring, both her and Gehrig, and everybody who's fighting ALS and fighting for a better future for those who suffer from ALS. It's inspiring. I think that would be a good word for it. Today, as a day, is very inspiring. But yeah, just tremendously heartbreaking when you heard that news about Sarah having been diagnosed with ALS. Everybody who talks about Sarah, she's one of those people that everyone has something nice to say. Whether it be those who work with her, the people like me who just watch her on TV, baseball fans, whatever it is, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who has anything negative to say about Sarah. And so someone who's fighting this disease with so much strength and sort of smiling in the face of what is a disease that currently has no cure. All right, I'm here with Sherry Marie Chu, the Executive Director of ALS Double. Sherry, first of all, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being here at the Baseball Carnival at the Baseball Zone.
No problem. It's so great to be here today, and we're very grateful to the Baseball Zone for having this event and being the beneficiary of the event.
So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got involved with ALS Double in the first place.
Sure. Well, I'm the executive director for ALS Double, but I'm also the founder. So I started ALS Double when my brother Christopher became sick with ALS. And that was in 2011. So I started ALS Double in the fall of 2014. We're going to be celebrating 9 years next week.
During those 9 years, you can talk a little bit about some of the progress you've seen, some of the growth, in terms of awareness. You can talk about things like, the Ice Bucket Challenge, but also, aside from that, just what you've seen in terms of the progress we've made thus far.
Sure. There's been a lot of amazing progress in ALS research. So one of the things that prompted me to start my own charity was I wanted the funds that we were going to raise to go directly to research. Because when you have a disease like ALS where there's no cure and there's no real treatment, research is where you need to be spending the money. And so you talked about the Ice Bucket Challenge. That was actually in the summer before I started the charity.
Gotcha.
But it was amazing to see all the new things that are popping up in research just because of the funds raised during the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge in 2014. So we're actually seeing today new treatment directly related to the Ice Bucket Challenge. So when people are like, is money really being raised? Is it really going to research? It's true. It's happening today. So we're reaping those rewards today.
It's interesting you talk about that, how it felt like a while ago. I remember being a kid doing the Ice Bucket Challenge.
For sure.
And now here I am. And we're just seeing sort of some of the benefits from that now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important for people to know. It's not like the next day everything's going to change. This is progress. This is a marathon. And there's a lot of hurdles still. I want to ask you a little bit just kind of about, I guess, a day like today, a fundraiser like this, seeing all the kids, the families, everyone smiling. What does it mean to you for everyone to come together and congregate and celebrate a day like today, for a great cause?
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember one of my very first events. It was a movie event, and we had a step and repeat and a photographer and balloons, and someone said to me, "This is a very serious disease." And I said, "Yeah, it is. And it's depressing and it's sad. But when I have an event, I want it to be fun. I want everybody to leave with some more knowledge about the disease, but also hope and excitement about, how they've helped just by attending the event." And so today, when I see all these families here and everybody's having fun and there's music and balloons and the kids are running everywhere, it's perfect. This is exactly what we want.
I think what you said is really inspiring in a way. You want it to be about the hope and about, we can acknowledge, yes, it's a very awful disease, but, let's, like you said, leave with some hope, leave with some positivity in a way.
Exactly it.
I think that's such a great message. And, as we look ahead, how can we continue to, I guess, raise awareness? What can listeners doing, if they're listening to this, maybe they didn't come here today or whatever, or they feel like they want to help, what can they do?
So I think for us, and so we're called ALS Double Play.
Yeah.
So I don't know if many of your listeners know, but there is a connection with ALS and baseball in a way because of Lou Gehrig. Because ALS is often known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and he was a famous baseball player. So part of the whole thing is for us is awareness. So we only do two things, double play, right now. So we raise awareness and we fund research. And so for us, what would help us the greatest is the awareness piece. So following us on all of our social media channels, sharing our story. We have this really great short film on our website, and it's 10 minutes long, and it just really shows you what ALS is like. And it is from the perspective of my mom, so our mom, my brother's mom too. And it just tells a really great story, and it humanizes the disease a lot. So the number one thing I would say is awareness. Help us raise awareness by spreading the story, sharing. If you came to the event today, share your photos, tag us, and maybe come out to one of our events one day.
I think it's just so inspiring, what you're doing, obviously, you and your family, having obviously dealt with so much pain and then using it for good. And I think that that's something that we see, too, throughout. You mentioned baseball. Sarah Langs is another person who, it was more recent.
She is so inspiring.
When you mention the hope and smiling at these events, she's someone who does the same thing. She's always smiling. She's such a ray of sunshine. Speak a little bit to that.
Well, I think too, my brother was very much the same. Sarah reminded me a lot of my brother because they were both, my brother was 32 when he was diagnosed with the disease, and he lived with it for 5 years. Sarah is in her early 30s as well. I was so touched when I heard about her and her story and what she's doing for the whole ALS community. She was featured a lot through Lou Gehrig Day this year in the MLB, which was June 2nd. And also there's another connection with Dalton Varsho on the Jays. His mother-in-law passed of ALS, I think it was 2 years ago now. Yeah, so it's amazing. Like, when you have people that want to talk about the disease and share their story, it's not normal. Most people, because the disease is so difficult, when they're going through it or after they've gone through it, they don't want any part of it anymore. So the fact that Sarah is sharing her daily struggle is amazing, and I love that she's really helping the ALS community.
And so are you, ALS Double Play. We greatly appreciate your time, Sherry. Your website's alsdoubleplay.com. Anywhere else you want people to visit, or is that a good spot, do you think?
I think that's a great place to start, but we are on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. Everything is at ALS Double Play.
Thanks again, Sherry. That's Sherry Marie Chu with ALS Double Play.
Thank you.
See, we have a couple fans in attendance now, a couple people playing video games here in the little video game corner. We got a Raptors fan over here with us too. Great day here at the Baseball Zone, getting together for a great cause, sharing some wonderful stories. It's a heartwarming event. It's, as Sherry talked about, I love the perspective on it. As someone who has experienced very painful loss as a result of ALS, the resolve and the optimism for the future that Sherry and ALS Double Play shows is just so incredible. I think, like she talked about, a lot like what Sarah Langs is doing too. Come together and to just smile and have some hope. I think that's a great way to look at it. Here at the Baseball Zone, the first annual Baseball Carnival in association with ALS Double Play, and we already spoke with Sherry. Now we're going to talk with the co-owner of the Baseball Zone. Kevin Horton joins us here on the CBN Podcast. Kevin, how's it going?
Very good, thanks, Jackson.
So, first off, I mentioned it was the first annual. Kind of what went into this day, and talk a little bit about what it means to you to host this big event.
Lots went into this day. It's definitely a lot more planning than I thought that there would be. Events is not really something that we've done a lot of at the Baseball Zone. We're really good at putting together programs and things like that, but events is a little bit new to us. So getting down to the nitty-gritty details. It was a lot of work, and we had to get a whole team involved. Planning took somewhere in 6 to 8 months, so there's a decent amount of time that went into it, and hosting a day like this it's a proud moment for the Baseball Zone. I've been touched by the ALS Double Play, the story from Sherry and her brother Christopher, and it's really been an eye-opening experience for me, just when you start to figure out how monumental this disease is and how many people it actually does affect. The community that it does is massive, and it's really devastating, right? And I think for us, hosting something like this, it's humbling, and it's really just something that if we can even do a little bit to bring a bit of awareness and raise some money for research and something that's terminal, right? It's really proud moment for us.
You talk about sort of building that community, right? That sense of community. We see here today. I was talking a little bit earlier about how you see people come in, they're all smiling. You got families here. It's a Saturday. Everyone's feeling good. There's lots of, hey, how's it going? It's been a while, that kind of thing. You speak a little bit just to kind of what that means to you, the community that is here at the Baseball Zone and that can be present sort of on a day like this.
It's just amazing to see, right? Like you say community, and the other word that pops into my head is family, right? There's lots of kids walking in. It's both sets of parents. It's all genders, and people that have barely played to people that play rep that we see in here all the time. The community is it's very diverse in certain areas, but the baseball community, anybody that's involved in it, they know it's really tight. It's really close knit. And things like this, they go a long way to bringing us together as a family, as a community.
Lots of happy folks leaving with lots of prizes. Feels like everyone's leaving with a huge Canadian Baseball Network bag full of goodies, whether it's swag, whether it's someone won Jays tickets, a bunch of hats, all kinds of other certificates and whatnot. Just a great day, as Kevin mentioned it, the community, the family that you see here today. It was really special, obviously in support of such a great cause. We heard from Sherry as well, talked to her about the cause, about ALS Double Play, what they're doing. Sarah Langs, who continues to be a pillar of inspiration, as does everyone else fighting with ALS. Someone who's fighting with ALS, and the folks over at ALS Double Play are also pillars of inspiration for what they're doing. And as I mentioned, using the pain that they felt for good, to hopefully change the future for the better. And that's about as inspiring as you can get. So for the Baseball Zone, for Kevin Horton, for Sean Addis, for everyone with ALS Double Play, of course for the Canadian Baseball Network, and for the absent Matt Betts, who unfortunately couldn't make it, my name is Jackson Farough. Thank you for joining us on this very special edition of the Canadian Baseball Network podcast here at the Baseball Zone for the first annual Strikeout ALS Baseball Carnival. We'll chat next time. Thank you for listening. Be sure to check out Canadian Baseball Network for extensive and comprehensive coverage of the latest in Canadian baseball. And the Baseball Zone, Canada's leading instructional baseball academy and training home to thousands of MLB pro, college, and youth baseball players.